Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Sure. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the April 3rd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Kalo has the dog for today.
Our featured pet this week, a dog, before we get to the cat show today. Come on, turn around. Come on, turn around. You're looking at Gennaro. Come on, yeah. It's about a 1-year-old female. She was found out on Whitney Road. She's part shepherd, part chow. Great personality, playful, young, can be trained well. Look at her. She's available for adoption at 3 o'clock on Saturday.
A thought for today. I'll start over again. I am defeated, and I know it, if I meet any human being from whom I find myself unable to learn anything. And I don't know whose quote that is, but I think it's very appropriate. We have a presentation at 9:30 from Zero Population. There was some information at the back that they are distributing about a fundraiser that they're having. There is also some information at the back from Trap, Neuter, Return, which is the best solution for feral colony cats, and some information from Did You Know, sponsored by Spray USA. Needless to say, and I'm sure you must realize that the commissioners have received lots of information this past week about how you might respond to feral cats. We appreciate all the information, certainly I do. A phone call from Stephen Dodson of Pittsfield Township to the dog warden's office, suggesting that trapping was the best way to handle these animals. And Arlene Sherman from Elyria called and said education was the key and that children should be taught responsibility for animals in school, emphasizing spaying and neutering. Christina Greaves from Morgan Avenue in Elyria called, reporting that there are dozens of cats roaming her neighborhood. And one neighbor is called the cat lady because she keeps so many and feeds the roamers. Eleanor Mittler, who is president of the Erie Shores Humane Society, called and said she would be at the board meeting today and would like to talk about their program. And there was a no-name message left on one of the voicemails that said, made some comments about the APL and their supposed solution. Those are the calls. There were a couple letters to the editor, very interesting. So I would like to call on Sandy Campana and Maria Vitale from Zero Population. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Maria Vitale, and I'm an officer in Zero Population. This is our president, Sandy Campana. Zero Population is a 100% volunteer nonprofit organization that was organized specifically to raise funds for other animal rights organizations that do their major work with spaying and neuters of strays and ferals. Everyone knows that strays and ferals are a problem, and they're a problem for everyone, whether you have cats, dogs, whether you enjoy animals or not. They are a problem, and it's a problem that is created because of humans, not the animals. And they deserve to be treated humanely. Our function in Zero Population is to raise funds specifically to address the problem of ferals and strays. The way that we do that is by holding fundraisers, and we have one coming in October. We started personally in 2002 with the cats down at the Lorain Pier. We worked with Love a Stray out of Western Cuyahoga and Lorain County and took 38 cats out of the pier down by Lorain. We trapped them, we had them spayed and neutered. We did not release them because we were able to find homes for those animals. Sandy has personally, out of her own pocket, paid for over 20 spays and neuters from her neighborhood alone. She lives by the lake. I've done 18 in my neighborhood. The ones in my neighborhood started with one cat. That's where it always starts, with one cat. There's information in the back that shows over a period of several years how one cat with one mate having 2 litters a year with 2.8 kittens surviving can turn into 11,000 cats. That's a lot of animals. These animals are left to their own devices. Most of them are not fed by humans. We find that a lot of people in our community get angry with people who feed these animals. They say, I hear it all the time, don't feed them, they'll go away. Well, where are they going to go? Where? It's everybody's problem. And so we feel that the best way to treat these animals is to spay and neuter them. Something that is a very strong point that most people don't know is once you have a colony of animals that are neutered and spayed, they will not allow unaltered animals into their colony. They are going to, so that area is going to stay as it is. So if you do a trap, neuter, release to animals, like in my neighborhood, trap, neuter, and release, and the animals, there's 2 more now, because once people find out that you do that, you know you're going to be the recipient of a lot of drop-offs, so we keep our addresses secret. However, once those animals are neutered and spayed, they don't allow other unaltered animals into their territory. So it really does do an immediate fix for your neighborhood. We have people whose my gardens are always dug up by the cats. Well, yeah, that's where they go to the bathroom, and dirt they can dig in. So if you have a problem in your area and you work with organizations, Love a Stray, Erie Shores, anyone else that does spaying and neutering at reduced prices, then that problem is going to really dissipate. It's not going to get better. Trap, neuter, release takes several years to get long-term results. But you can find immediate short-term results in your little area of the world where you live. Zero Population is going to have a fundraiser in October. This is our 2nd annual brunch. Last year we were able to raise several $1,000s that did several hundred spays and neuters for cats. That's a start. You know, when you look at specific numbers that say there's 14,000 stray cats in Lorain alone, when you're doing 600 spays and neuters, it's a drop in the bucket. But when you do that over 5 or 10 years, it does become effective. Any questions?
Commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, Maria and Sandy Campana. Since we're on cats, anybody else would like to take their 3 minutes to address the board? We would be happy to hear your comments. Okay, we'll move on to our regular order. Did you want to speak? Okay. Regular order of business, Madam Clerk.
At 10 o'clock, we're going to have a public hearing, which is the first on the CDBG CHIP, small cities, under resolutions number 1, job and family services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Transfers,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Travel expenses,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Bills,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have two issues, potential new hire at Golden Acres, and we are also in receipt of a new labor contract for one of the county general fund departments that I shared with you, and we have to take action on that. So we need to discuss it, and both those issues are permissible subjects under the Sunshine Law, so I would ask that we have an executive session at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Award contract to Gurgley Maintenance King and Mole Sales for April 1st, 2008 through March 31st, 2009 to provide toilet tissue, paper towels, trash liners, cleaning supplies, and various plastic items for Job and Family Services Correctional Facility in Golden Acres.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Award contract to Castro Painting, Inc., Columbus, in the amount of $62,000 for painting of hangars at the airport. 4 bids were received, this being the most responsive, complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed letter honor before April 14th and to be completed honor before June 30th, 2008. And authorize the county administrator to notify the county auditor to release retainage at completion of project, and this will be paid from the building maintenance account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just a question, is this money coming out of the TIF for repayment to the general fund?
No, Commissioner. Not at this point. The TIF hasn't generated any revenue.
Right, but I mean, is it an advance and will be repaid by the TIF?
Not at this point. The money from the TIF can be used for public improvements.
Infrastructure?
It could be infrastructure. It actually, you could probably expand the definition a bit to capture some of this type work, but these are existing structures that are already there. So we would have a hard time using TIF money for them. And if we were producing some additional buildings or infrastructure improvements or renovating that had direct application to the project that's underway, we can certainly use TIF money. I don't believe at this point for the painting and the maintenance we'd be able to do that. Mr. Twining has also been working on that TIF, and I'm not sure what his feelings are on that at this point.
I believe, Jim, this is also the bid we threw out where they put a bunch of construction into it also from before, and we lowered
Yes,
our
we-
costs now with just the painting contract, so we do the rest in-house.
We were able to divide some of the work and gain some economies by splitting it out and having specific companies bid line items rather than trying to do the whole bulk, correct, Commissioner?
Specifically, Mr. Cordez is right. This is defined as maintenance and not public improvements. It's not a capital improvement.
Sorry, Commissioner, I know we're trying to be creative and finding
Speak
additional
any-
revenue
Yeah.
streams, so we understand the innovation that you want with regards to funding, and we'll continue to explore those possibilities.
Anything else?
No.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter into lease agreement with U.S. Department of Agriculture for Lorain County Farm Service Agency office for finished office rental space of 1,493 square feet at the Agricultural Center at 42110 Russia Road, Elaria. This is effective May 1st, 2008 for 18 months at a monthly rate of $1,313, and it should be 84 cents, not 94 cents. Or at the annual rate of $15,766.08, which is $10.56 per square foot based on the Maximus report.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Award the elevator maintenance contract to Cone Inc., Illinois, in the amount of $22,320 for various county buildings. 3 bids were received, this being the most responsive, complying with the specifications, and will be effective July 5, 2008, to be paid from the contract services account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement with the Spyglass Group, Inc., Westlake, to engage in an independent contractor auditor to analyze the county's primary telecommunications service accounts, which include local voice, long-distance voice, data, and internet, to seek cost recovery, service elimination, and cost reduction recommendations.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion.
There
Mr.
wasn't
Clerk.
really
I'm sorry.
a cost associated with this. It was more of a percentage. Do we have an idea about how much they're going to charge us for this? And are we going to recover our expenses by what they save us?
No pain, no gain.
Right.
They don't recover anything, they don't get paid. You sent this back to me, I want to say about 3 months ago. We had negotiated better terms and conditions than their original proposal. You reviewed it, you thought that it was still a little bit too generous, and you sent it back and said, get some more
Beat 'em
back for
down.
us. And so we have been able to achieve some additional cost sharing that's more advantageous to us. How it works is if they discover that there's been payments that are not in accordance with what we should be paying, we will split the savings on that for a number of months. Their original proposal was that they would split the cost savings that they discovered for 12 months with us. We had reduced that down to 9, and we had given them no upfront money because they originally requested upfront money. I believe now we're down to 6 months. I reviewed it a week or two ago pretty quickly. So I think it's in our best interest. Commissioner, just for the public's own consumption here, we have literally thousands and thousands of phone calls, and we have so many phone lines, and there's so much activity. Over the years, the potential for a erroneous charge by a phone company or something getting out of whack in conformance with an agreed-upon charge is pretty large. We don't have the capability to, on an ongoing basis, continue to audit that staggering volume of phone bills and internet charges and et cetera. So these companies specialize in that, and that's all they do. So the work on our end will be providing them the data they need to do a thorough review. I believe that they've been very successful in other areas, or they wouldn't be in business, because they usually don't get paid unless they find some savings. So for us, it seems to be a no-brainer, and it's going to be one of the things I'm going to be doing later this year with our healthcare claims and a couple other areas where there's nobody's potentially doing anything wrong purposely, but errors do occur, and hopefully those errors are going to be able to recover some savings from them. Just one of those
Okay.
things that we're going to be doing while dollars are shrinking, so we're going to be looking everywhere.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Community Development, rescind Resolution 08213 adopted March 27th, awarding contract to Airmore Heating in the amount of $6,182 on behalf of Harold A. Lindsay at 4256 Toledo Avenue, Sheffield Township. He has been deemed ineligible to receive this grant.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Any
Yes.
question? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, the reason why this gentleman was deemed ineligible is because he lied on his application.
That's why I was asking why they find it deemed ineligible. That was my question.
And it's very upsetting to me, because I watch these all the time, and there's really no way of knowing, if somebody's actually lying on their application, which in this case this gentleman did. What it was is he had additional real estate, and under that question, he put not applicable, that he did not have additional real estate. I guess back in 2004, they changed their guidelines as far as CDBG money, that if you have additional real estate, then you are ineligible to receive these grants or these loans. So there is a clause in our contract that states that there could be a $10,000 penalty for falsifying the documents, and I would request that the commissioners go ahead and pursue that $10,000 because we need to set an example that people cannot be taking advantage of our CDBG money when they are not eligible for it. It's very upsetting to me. There's a lot of people out there that really need this money, and they're not getting it, and people like this are. And this gentleman did already receive like $8,000 for a roof back before the 2004 change in the guidelines. So I don't know if, Jerry, if you need to take action on that, but I would definitely want to, if we can find him the $10,000, I want to find him the $10,000.
May I comment, Commissioner?
Sure.
And this one's particularly difficult because this was requested for an emergency repair because it was a furnace. So our ability to vet those completely because of the urgency, especially when the weather is very cold out, when it's a furnace repair or hot water repair, becomes difficult. One of the things we do with those on the emergency repairs, we try to get them processed, and then we go back and take a look at them while the paperwork's being processed to make sure that we've done our due diligence on them. So the emergency repair ones are hard.
But I think our community development department did do due diligence, but when somebody lies on their application, there's no way of knowing that they're lying.
Right, I was
You know,
just,
normally I would just look on Mark Stewart's website, make sure the person is the person requesting the loan, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look up the property address and see how many properties these people own, because, you know, this is ridiculous.
yeah, I was only saying that so that, to give the public a flavor for how we handle these, because we
How
do.
it happened. It
Right,
wasn't
we-
a normal process
right.
of standard CDBG. It was under emergency.
Right, and that doesn't excuse it at all. It's just for, sometimes the public doesn't understand that we do these emergency repairs for the safety and well-being of the homeowners. This one's particularly discouraging because the persons
Yeah.
involved knew the system.
Right.
And they know the political system, they know how to play this system, and I yesterday told Mr. Twining that I wanted this referred over to the prosecutor's office for a review and a recommendation on further action, because this was a blatant, and I mean
Absolutely.
blatant, fraudulent application. So just to alleviate your fears, I've already had
Okay.
that in process on behalf of the board. Sometimes there's an error, but this was no error.
This was definitely not an error, and luckily somebody let us know that this person had additional properties. Otherwise, it would have went through and he would have, you know, he would have got another $6,000 on top of the $8,000 that he probably shouldn't have got either. So we want to eliminate future problems like this, and the only way to do that is to fine him the $10,000, the maximum amount.
We will report back to the board after the process unfolds with the prosecutor's office.
I think the citizen who let us know about this irregularity needs to be commended.
Absolutely.
Madam Clerk?
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Accept the recommendation of Tax Incentive Review Council and approve the report, which includes 31 tax abatement agreements and the recommendation to continue 27 for another year, acknowledge expiration of 2, and terminate 2.
Also move.
Second?
Discussion.
Did we want to comment at all on that, Rebecca? Did you want to make any statements? I mean, it's... No, but I just think we talked about one individual instance. Here's the report for the whole year about what the Tax Incentive Review Council did, and I thought you might have some comments on that.
Yes, I do have just a couple of comments. The Tax Incentive Review Committee did meet. One company asked for discontinuance of their tax abatements because, as you know, the personal property tax will be eliminated as of 2009, and so they will not be paying. They would just like to discontinue their abatement. A question was brought up during the abatement meeting because they do have a school donation agreement. So while the committee agreed to terminate that or to discontinue those two, we did do some follow-up with the schools in the community regarding the school donation agreement. And the schools in the community currently are comfortable with that. I have asked that the community also pass an ordinance discontinuing that abatement, and then that will go on to Columbus for discontinuance of those that one company's 2 abatements.
Thank you. Questions for Rebecca?
No, solid report.
Ms. Blair?
Thank you. Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Job and Families, instruct the clerk to advertise requests for proposals on April 7th and 14th and open on April 21st in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room for 1, child daycare provider pre-certification training and follow-up will be in the Chronicle and open at 2 p.m. Classroom training, job placement, job retention program, and work experience program in the Journal and open at 2:15. And non-emergency medical transportation published in the Chronicle and open at 2:30.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter in a sub-grant agreement G8920-1097 with the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services for state fiscal year '09.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Children's Services, approve and enter in a sub-grant agreement G8920-1098 with the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services for state fiscal year '09.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under the Engineer, receive and accept the 2008 Annual Highway Condition Report.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Sheriff, approve and enter an agreement with Columbia Township Police Protection retroactive to April 1st, 2008 through March 31st, 2010. This is due to the increase of hourly fees paid by the township as a result of the new collective bargaining agreement for the deputies.
Madam Clerk, I would just ask that we hold this till next week. I have spoken to Bob Flanagan, and he is reviewing some items for me.
That's fine. Yeah, Commissioner wants to look into it, Barbara, that's all right. Doesn't hold anything up, Sheriff? Okay, all right, that's fine.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator.
I have no additional comments this morning, thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
I have no new legal issues for the commissioners this week.
Wow. Yeah.
Commissioners report.
Yes, I have two things. I received an email from the task force for foreclosures, and last year in March, the number of foreclosures were 223. March of this year, 188, so they did go down a little bit, so that's good news. Bad news is February was higher this year than last year. So I'm hoping that our task force and all the things that everybody's trying to do to help people save their homes hopefully is working. And then I also have a letter, it's actually to the American Legion Post 118 in Amherst, and I'd like to read it from you. It's from Sergeant First Class Dilapina, Randolph Alpha Company, 1st Brigade, Special Troops Battalion 82, Airborne Division. It says, on behalf of all the soldiers of Alpha Company 1, I would like to offer our most sincere thank you for your care packages. These items that we've received from you were a blessing. The soldiers are grateful for your generosity and your patriotism. This gift not only allows us to live a little bit more comfortable, but it reminds us soldiers that we are still remembered back home. I can imagine most of you did this on your own time, which makes this gift just that much more important. Please accept this letter and this picture as a token of our thanks for you, for all that you have done, and for what your families do. Thank you for your support, and Godspeed. Just wanted to say, Glenn Crow at the American Legion Post 118 does do a lot of this, a lot on his own time. They've sent 2,000 boxes to our soldiers overseas, and each of these boxes weigh between 10 and 12 pounds, and it's very, very expensive to send it. They don't get bulk mail or anything. They have to pay full postage. So, and I know the VFW in Amherst and the Eagles also help out. So if anybody wants to help our soldiers and want to donate to either one of these organizations, they're really doing a very nice thing for our soldiers overseas, and they really, really appreciate it. So if you want to make a donation, please feel free to do that. And that's the end of my report.
No report this week, just been a Cats Week.
How many do you want?
I've already got 2, Commissioner.
Well, I think we should have a couple more.
I almost had a stray cat. My son left the window open yesterday, and my daughter's cat jumped out the front. She came home from work. She said, "Who let the cat outside?" I said, "Nobody. Why?" Well, we almost had a stray cat, but
Came back home?
we got her back in.
All
Yeah.
right. I just want a reminder one more time of the Lorain County Community Alliance Transportation Day, which is tomorrow, Friday, April 4th at 9 a.m. in this room here. We're having several presenters to talk about what's happening with transportation in Lorain County, and it's open to the public. Anybody who'd like to attend is welcome. Secondly, Ann Hill from Governor Strickland's office called yesterday, and there's been several announcements of the fact that the bond issue that we previously had information on and passed a resolution in support of has been slightly changed. The agreement announced at the State House News Conference includes a $400 million November bond issue that would double the size of the Clean Ohio Fund, which finances green space and industrial redevelopment projects. It would also include $250 million toward internships and co-ops under a higher education workforce program, $120 million for the historic preservation tax credit, and money for logistics and distribution projects, $100 million. Bio initiatives, $150 million. Advanced energy, $150 million. And local infrastructure, the $400 million that I mentioned. And this was worked out between the governor and the heads of the Senate and the House of Representatives. And finally, it was mentioned here, the bio part initiatives of Commissioner Kalo with respect to clean energy. He sent me an email site and I responded to it, and I got back another email. It said that less than 1%, it says 87% is the amount of Ohio's electricity that comes from burning coal. Less than 1% is the amount of Ohio's electricity that comes from clean, renewable energy resources like wind and solar. It says, thank you for being one of the over 600 activists that emailed Governor Strickland, Senate President Bill Harris, and Speaker of the House John Husted to urge them to work together for a clean energy future. And it goes on to say that Ohio's top leaders are deciding now whether they will support an energy policy that will make Ohio a leader in the development of clean energy and a green economy. And a couple weeks ago, you heard that the commissioners had had lunch with some investors who were interested in our county, and they are interested in doing business with us because we have the ability, hopefully, to have clean energy. So it all goes together.
Proper legislation,
Yes.
Commissioner, starts at the
So,
state.
yes. So anyway, if you have a chance to see any of your legislators, let them know you as individual persons are interested in them moving forward with that. And that concludes my report, Madam Clerk.
And I just want to let the commissioners know that last Friday we did have the Prevailing Wage Seminar. It went very well. Many counties were impressed with not only the room, but the speakers that we had. Jerry did a wonderful job in his presentation as well, so just let you know that.
I think you ought to mention the cookies, too. Oh, they were
Did everybody
special.
eat 'em yet?
No, I've still got it. That's too good to eat.
One week it's pie, one week it's cookies.
Last week
Just the
it's
good things
cats,
in life.
it's dogs.
Holiday Inn provided Ohio cookies, and it had Welcome to Lorain County. They were very nice.
And next week, it's going to be candy. Lori?
Well, I know there's people from the APL here and stuff, and I know when Betty brought up the taser thing with the cats, at least it did one thing, it brought this to light, and I'm glad that Maria told us about the spay-neuter program with zero population, and I went to your fundraiser last time, and I'll be at the next one, and every time you have one, I'll be at that. But I just want to make it very clear that the tasers that we do have for the dogs are not to capture the dogs, it's only to ward off an aggressive dog on our deputies. So we don't shoot tasers at dogs to catch them, it's only to ward off if a dog is attacking one of our guys. So we don't use them to catch, just to
They are a
prevent a possible injury.
They are a defensive weapon for the safety and well-being of your animal control officer.
That's correct.
Wow, who wrote that for you?
I just made that up. You better write it down because I won't remember it in 5 minutes.
Teresa will give it to you in writing.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
We will do the public hearing now, and then public comment.
Okay.
Linda?
Linda Blanchett from our Lorain County Community Development Department. Good morning, Linda.
Morning.
Thank you, Commissioners. Today we're here to have our first public hearing for the FY08 Community Development Block Grant Program. And speaking today, well, I also have Greg Albert. I always forget to introduce Greg, and he lets me know it after the meeting. Greg is handing out the sign-in sheets. And I have today Phyllis Dunlap from CT Consultants, and she is going to talk about the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First public hearing, as I'm sure you're aware, is just a general hearing to inform the public what's available for community block grant. Lorain County is eligible to apply for funds under the fiscal year 2008 Community Development Block Grant Small Cities Program, which is a federally funded program, and other related programs administered by the state of Ohio, the Department of Development. Lorain County may apply for FY 2008 funding under the formula, the neighborhood revitalization, water and sewer, economic development, downtown revitalization, discretionary, and imminent threat, and community housing improvement program grants. Lorain County is eligible for at least $500,000 from the community housing improvement program. If Habitat participates, it would be up to $556,000. Approximately $370,000 of fiscal year 2008 Community Development Program formula funds provided that the county meets all the applicable program guidelines.
What was that figure again, please?
370,000 approximately.
370?
Thank you. Eligible program activities for the Community Housing Improvement Program include private owner rehab, rental rehab, home ownership, acquisition rehab resale. Public residential rehab is normally under the Community Housing Improvement Program, but is not in this year's comprehensive plan. It's been moved to the discretionary funds. Home repair, new construction for Habitat, emergency monthly housing, and tenant-based rental assistance. The city's most recent CHIP application included private rehab, home repair, down payment assistance rehab, TBRA, and Habitat.
City or county?
County, sorry. The application for CHIP is due May 2nd. The CDBG program can fund a broad range of activities, including economic development projects, street, water supply, drainage, sanitary sewer improvements, park acquisition, demolition of unsafe structures, rehabilitation of housing, and neighborhood facilities. The activities must be designed to primarily benefit low to moderate income persons, aid in the prevention or elimination of slum and blight, or meet an urgent need of the community. The application for the CDBG formula program is due June 27th this year. Second public hearing must be held after the application has been put into draft format. We anticipate that the second public hearing for the CHIP would be in mid to the third week in April, and the second public hearing for the formula will be held early to mid-June. Any questions?
Questions from the audience?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa, do I have to have a motion to close that public hearing?
You should.
Also move.
Second.
Claire?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
All right.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address the board on any subject? Joe from Avon Lake. Good morning, Joe.
As the commissioners and everybody probably in this room is aware, with the EPA and our stormwater phase 2 programs being implemented across the state, in particular in Lorain County, which we're all concerned about. My name is Joe Reitz. I'm with the city of Avon Lake, REITZ. Been enough of these meetings, I know I better spell it.
Thank you, Joe.
I wanted to introduce to the commissioners Avon Lake's involvement with the PIPE program. I'm the stormwater manager for the city. I'm trying to be very aggressive, and I guess the most recent comment that I've gotten was talking with EPA. I've been told that I start to sound like EPA, so I guess as far as the city goes, I guess I must be doing a good job. I want to introduce to the commissioners the methodology that the city of Avon Lake is going to go about this for our public information. And forgive me if I make this a little bit silly, but I'm trying to make a very dry subject, all puns intended, amusing. We're all aware of the alligators that live in our sewers around town and across the big cities. Avon Lake.
I think he's got something in his box.
I would like to introduce you to Al. He is our mascot for the city. He is going to go through and help increase awareness of the sewer systems, storm sewer systems, I should make sure I correct that, across our town. He is going public now. He's coming out and he's trying to make people aware of what they dump into our sewers. The local Avon Lake Press is doing a series of articles over the next several months to try to increase this. Avon Lake's first year goal is to, in just general education as far as what should be dumped into sewers and so forth. So Al is coming out and being public, and I have one for all the commissioners. I did a little bio on him, which people have said that if I lose my job as an engineer, I can always be a children's book writer. So, but I have one for all of you, and I encourage anybody that might be in this room or anybody that would be seeing this to give me a call. There's a lot of cooperation that we need to do amongst our communities, county level all the way to the individual municipalities. And I'd like to increase that and open it up to anybody that might want to have some fun with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's a novel way to address that and to get the information out. Appreciate your coming this morning. Is there anyone else that, ma'am? Yes.
follow that.
Well, you know, do you have any stuffed
Do you have
toys?
any presents for us?
No, I'm sorry. I want to talk to you actually about something that Commissioner Kukowski brought up, and that
You
is
need
the
to state your name and
Okay.
where you live.
Sherry Ames, 949 Fairwood Boulevard, Elyria, Ohio.
I called you this morning again.
Yes, you did. I got your message on the way here, so. As I mentioned, I wanted to talk about the foreclosure issue. I know that we've made progress in regard to preventing foreclosures and cutting back on the number and keeping people in their homes. And while that progress is encouraging, that doesn't deal with the issue of what has happened in our neighborhoods, in our communities. In regard to, we have so many vacant properties, whether it's homes or actually businesses too, even right here in Elyria when you drive through, or the city of Lorain. And that's what I wanted to ask you, or urge you to actually consider, to establish a land bank that gives a great opportunity to deal with those vacant properties and get people back in them, have them reused, whether it's through affordable housing or demolition, or just banking the land and making it available to create an economic development, redevelopment opportunity. And then you're going to cut back on the safety, the crime issues, and the devastation that's creating in the neighborhoods, that decline. And actually, too, that really affects the county is the property devaluing that has occurred. And then I'll bring that tax money back in for the schools, for the county, and for everybody else. So I had emailed that information to you, and I have others, and you may have found some on your own.
Yeah, you did, and thank you, Sherry. Jerry, I have a question for you. I believe that there has been some discussion with your office about how we might proceed with something like that. Is that not correct?
Well, we've talked about various issues about what we can do. The concept of land.
Yeah, yes.
The concept of specifically of a land bank is something that I just heard about this morning as far as that concept being proposed. But Mr. Twining brought some information to me, and we'll look at that with all the other options that we can possibly look into.
One question, when the county, if we try to buy a foreclosed or a repossessed house, do we have to pay fair market value, or can we bid the minimum at a sheriff's sale?
Well, that's the issue that Mr. Cortez has addressed to the state in a letter, I believe, if I'm correct.
There was a letter sent to,
Yes.
that we worked with Ron on for CDBG funds to be used to do this. I will tell you, as you saw today with CDBG, $500,000 is but a drop in the bucket, and even before we send out for that money, we're pretty much fully allocated. We know where it's kind of going, and I wish we had additional funds. CDBG is really became greatly diminished about 20 years ago. It used to be quite a healthy program, and over the years it's just turned into a real trickle. So I'm not confident that we're going to see CDBG monies be able to tackle this problem. While there's various state initiatives and federal initiatives underway, it's probably going to have to be a homegrown solution to the local situation that we find ourselves in, because each community is a bit different. As far as the land bank issue goes, normally land banks are used for properties that are in disrepair, and where the political entity will take over control through various legal remedies, and usually the property is razed, and then it will be put into a bank and sold very, very inexpensively to a developer to encourage continued development. You see land banks mostly being used in the inner city neighborhoods to revitalize neighborhoods. I did a little research.
Or green space.
Excuse me,
Or to
green
leave it
space.
as green space, which
Yes.
I recommend highly.
And I keep forgetting that Madam Commissioner used to be a city council person, so you have that experience over in Lorain with their land bank. I did try to look in the internet for a little bit of information. I hadn't found anything within the communities where they were land banking properties that were still of substantial value but had been in the foreclosure process. And I'm not sure if Ron was able to find anything, but I know I wasn't, with regard to land banking productive properties. Maybe he was. He's walking to the microphone.
One of the issues, Sherry, too, is the cities each have their own CDBG money, and the county has their CDBG. And most of these houses that you're talking about that are really in bad shape are usually in the cities. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have a whole lot of them in the county, I don't believe,
Well,
that
it-
are vacant and abandoned and ready to be raised and left as green space, but.
Yeah,
so-
Madam Commissioner is correct. So we have to say it out here because other people don't know what we know. The city of Lorain, the city of Elyria are both entitlement cities.
They have their own.
And they have their own, and North Ridgeville is large enough where they go directly to HUD.
To state.
No, they go into state, that's right. Thanks, Ron.
Right.
So those three big communities don't fall within any jurisdictional oversight with the Board of Commissioners.
And one of the things, I don't know if you were here last week, the servicing companies that are taking care of the bank-owned properties, they're sitting on these houses for an extended period of time because the longer that they take care of them, the more money that they make. And they're not even accepting offers on properties from real estate agents because they want to hold on to those properties as long as possible. So that's one of the things we're looking at too, to see if the counties in each city can charge the servicing companies fees, which could build up some revenue to help address other issues with these
Right.
with these homes.
And I wonder if that could even be used, considered a nuisance abatement.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that that's happening with commercial properties right here in Elyria, where there are a couple of buildings that individuals wanted to purchase, and they wouldn't sell the property, and it's
Right.
sitting there empty. And I would consider that that's an opportunity for creating a nuisance abatement and doing something in that way.
Right.
Well, if the property is in disrepair, that becomes a zone, building department
Building
issue
code
within the municipality.
violations and.
That's another thing that we cannot enforce. We do have some oversight within the unincorporated territories, but within a incorporated territory, we have no oversight as a county whatsoever.
Well, something to consider and a land bank to look at would be Genesee County.
Okay?
And that is actually, it's not even Genesee County, it's the state of Michigan. And they have set it up that it's actually a state land bank. And with the way they've set it up, it would deal with some of the issues that you're talking about. And they created intergovernmental agreements where it changed the way that could be handled. So,
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Just for my own clarification, because I think I've got two different thoughts going on here. I had thought that Madam Commissioner at one time was talking about a potential land bank with productive properties that were in the foreclosure to try to get them back into the marketplace.
No, I want to do both. I want to
Right.
find properties that are, I send it to the prosecutor's office.
Yes, I
If they
thought-
have building code violations and put a point value with it, and if it gets to a certain point, then, we take that property and tear it down and leave it as green space. The less demand or the less supply you have, the greater the demand. So
That-
it's
that
going to
con-
help our housing market all the way around.
That kind of what you'll find people out there calling public taking.
Right. Eminent domain, you run into kilo case issues and such like that. I mean, I think that's a long drawn out
It usually, at
policy.
best,
Not
at
that I don't
best,
want them tore down, but when you
I
start taking
remember-
people's property.
I think it was.
Bank-owned, not people's.
Right.
Banco.
Bank-owned. I'm not talking about taking people's property.
Okay.
I'm talking about rental property out of state landlords, the ones that are being taken care of by servicing companies, and bank-owned properties.
I know there's a certain ways of doing that within the municipalities. Ron and I did explore this about 3 years ago within the county. We didn't find that many non-productive properties in the unincorporated area. There seemed to be less of a problem in the unincorporated areas with that. But I know he's standing there waiting to say something.
thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry.
Most of what has been said is absolutely accurate. It's not easy in the state of Ohio, and the county, as Jerry and Jim have said many times, is an extension of the state statute. Ohio is a little difficult. Land banks are huge. It can be used for many purposes. When I was in Oberlin, we were one of the first to use land banking in order to get the railroad right-of-way property acquired with our electric department so that it could ultimately be used not only for the extension of the electric lines, but also a future bike path, which it eventually turned into. So land banking can be used for any public purpose, but you do need a public purpose. If the county's going to do it, and we're looking at it again, we looked several years ago, the real issue is the source of the money you're spending will really dictate whether you have to pay fair market value or you can buy, through takings, eminent domains, or anything like that. So the issue that we've discovered is really the source of the money. Assuming that we don't have a cash in our general fund for this, but maybe we do, it's going to be with more restrictions. But if we do land banking at the county level, we should work directly with the cities that have the jurisdiction in the incorporated areas, and that's easy for us to do. I think there's a willingness. Ken Burkhart, just this Monday morning, stopped in at 8 o'clock and had a meeting with me about Illyria's program, which what I've read so far is an excellent program, and Sherry's done real well working with that. A county program, though, you need to understand, and it's a safeguard that's probably good, would not be just the staff of the Board of Commissioners. It involves several of the county agencies that have to be at the table as well, the treasurer, the auditor, the engineer. It involves a lot of people looking with their expertise to make sure what the public purpose is and why we're land banking that. So we have a few of those restrictions that we're uncovering that aren't necessarily with the cities, or it's with the cities and it's easier for them to get their public works director to do several hats and things. So that's the only thing that I wanted to add this morning.
Thank you, Ron.
Madam
Sherry, you
Commissioner.
have further comment? And Jerry, while she's coming to the microphone.
Okay, I just wanted to know, I didn't want to make too much comment about it because most of this type of thing is handled through our tax department, so I don't have a first-hand knowledge of it, but I do know that we have worked in coordination with the municipal entities. I do recall working with Howard Goldberg out of Lorain. So peripherally, we do work through our tax department, help the municipalities coordinate this thing and work through them. So to some extent, we already are participating in those kinds of programs.
Thank you. And Sherry?
I just wanted to actually comment that I spoke with the gentleman that was crucial, or the mover behind the Genesee County Land Bank and what happened there. He met on March 12th with state officials regarding changing Ohio's law. I know we have Ohio Revised Code 5722. I don't know where that went. I haven't heard anything recently. But I think that might make some changes if they've made changes in the legislation, and he suggested in order for the state to establish this, as Michigan did, it might deal with some of the issues that Ron's been talking about. And actually, I talked to Howard Goldberg myself, and he discussed that they've used receivership. So they don't necessarily have a land bank established, but they've had other ways that they've had that happen. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very educational. Anyone else who wishes to address the board this morning? I move we go into executive.
wait, are
I'm
you-
sorry.
One more.
One quickie.
Uh-huh.
That's just fine.
Yes, I'm Paula Winoski, North Ridgeville on Chestnut Ridge. And living in Lorain County, I get very sensitive about comments made. Actually, I come today from the Friendship APL. And I get sensitive to comments made about the APL, but also about Lorain County. And I noticed, and tell me if I shouldn't comment, on your correspondence number 18 from the Happy Trails Farm Animal Sanctuary. There's a statement made in there that says, so about 6 or 8 sentences down, when the chickens were seized, there was no one from Lorain County that stepped forward. And I just wanted to clarify for the commissioners and that the audience that's not aware, it was the APL people that were out at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning pulling the roosters and hens out of that facility. They were transported only because we don't have the space to house them in the building. They were transported to the fairground, and then the phone call from the sheriff was made to organizations that might be able to help out and take care of the chickens and roosters. So it was not that no one from Lorain County stepped forward. It was a learning experience for the Friendship APL because the court settlement, we did get the fine money. The extended penalty was split between Happy Trails, the Pound Medical Fund, and Love Astray. And the judge that made that decision explained to us that in the future, we need to make it a little clearer who was the acting organization to the courts, but that being water over the dam, I just wanted to clarify that there was very active participation from people in Lorain County.
Well, thank
Any
you.
questions?
Nope.
Thank you
Well,
for
clarifying that.
Yes, and thank you for coming today.
Mhm.
Anyone else? I move we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the administrator.
I'll second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.